Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and I tell you, we got an absolutely fantastic show coming your way. And this young man, and I did say young man, that's our special guest on the show today. Been doing a lot of great things, continue to do great things, and I tell you, just lifting up the world, just bringing smiles to people's face and feeding people, feeding a whole lot of people. So we need great folks like this, and I tell you, I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about him in a minute. But I can't do anything without bringing on my executive producer and my co-host, Doctor Denise Michelle Coley. How are you doing today?
You did it on purpose. My first name is not Denise. You know it's Michelle. You see, audience, my family only calls me Shell. No one calls me Michelle unless I'm in trouble. You know, like the full name. Anyway, welcome everybody. Yeah, we are so excited about the guest today. And, he's been a previous guest on our show, but he's got and our show is not enough to do him justice. He's got so many things going in the pipeline and amazing, inspirational, motivational, and, things to share with us. So what do you think?
Well, I just think this is an amazing guy, and I just know that all the great things that he's doing, and I had an opportunity to meet with him a few times and work with him a little bit. So I'm just amazed that we have folks. I mean, we got some. I'm talking about, but just to actually meet them and just know that their heart is where it's supposed to be, and it's all about uplifting. So I want to get this show started. Wherever you watching this at, whether you're watching it on E360 TV, whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching on LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever mechanism you're watching on, you can be part of the conversation just by going to the comments, and you can ask this great doc that we're getting ready to introduce any questions that you want, and or you can ask Michelle, myself, and I got another great doc that's going to be joining us as well, Dr. Eric Hall. You can ask any one of us any question that you want to, and we'll make sure we get you an answer. Michelle, I can't take it no more. I'm ready to get this show started. Can you please tell our viewers and our listeners the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and introduce this great guest?
Oh, of course. Well, the title of today's show is 2023 and Beyond. And the purpose is getting to know the founder and president of World Trumpet Television and Radio Network, Dr. Mike Kingsley. And we're going to talk about how can humanity survive the future. And we're going to talk about global alignments, what in the world is happening, and what should be the spiritual condition of the heart, and many other discussions. So let's talk a little bit about our guest today, Dr. Mike Kingsley. The founder, Dr. Mike Kingsley, is, like I said, founder and president of World Trumpet Television and Radio Network, based in North America, Dallas, Texas, and Africa. Their mission at World Trumpet TV Networks to proclaim the good news worldwide, ignite global movements of God for world transformation, and promote international humanitarian missions to hurting nations. Mike Kingsley is also founder of Only Prayer America, a Christian ministry whose mission is to equip the end-time church to awaken, pray for world transformation, and 1 billion souls saved by world evangelism, with a mandate to reclaim a genuine revival and national transformation through seeking God. World Trumpet TV Network broadcasts the gospel of the kingdom to the hurting and unreached people all over the world. The urgent global mission of World Trumpet TV is to reach unbelievers around the world with faith-based, family-oriented program that is evangelistic, life-changing, and humanitarian in the mission field. Their Dallas-based network uses satellite cable and social media platforms to deliver the kingdom's message to the world, as well as 24-hour programming. In addition to world evangelism and global moves of God, they also offer humanitarian transformation initiatives. The gospel is broadcast in more than 150 nations. It's also an educational and wholesome channel for children ages 2 to 12, which provides content that is Christ-centered and filled with meaningful Christian values. The James Cooley Show welcomes back to the show Dr. Mike Kingsley.
Dr. Mike, how are you doing, sir?
I am delighted to be with you again. What a joy in the new year. A pleasure for me to be with you. The honor for me to have this opportunity on the 4th of this wonderful, great new year that God has made available to us. Doctor, how are you, Brother James?
Man, I am doing absolutely wonderful. You know, anytime that when me and you, when we get together and we start talking and we just start chatting, man, it's just there's never enough time. I mean, just like what Sheila just mentioned, that an hour, we just gonna scratch the surface today, but we're gonna share with the world some of the things that you and your great organizations, I said organizations, are doing, and some of the things, the expectations that we have for ourselves and our goal for 2023. So I tell you, let's get started. Let's start. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit more about you, where you grew up, and just tell them about some of the things that you're doing right now.
No, Doc, I'm delighted to be here with you. What a joy, pleasure for us to be together. Um, as I've been given that long introduction on your show, I'm originally from Uganda, born of a father who is a mighty strategic kingdom man of God in that country. And normally, when I begin to share this, this journey story, I begin at the time and at the time in my country when things were broken up. I was born in a time and a season when it was devastation and wars and everything. I remember my mom carrying me to um, on a back running, And the reason why I begin with that is because how do you take, a situation like that from a crisis? A young man from a crisis born within that time and hopelessness and everything, and you tell him that you're going to have a great vision that will touch the nations of the world. The answer is that all of us at one point in our lives, this there's power that's embedded inside of us. There's a purpose. Nobody comes to on this face of the earth. Nobody comes with nothing. We all come with something. When God created Adam and Eve, you know, inside of them there was purpose. And why was it there? Because God breathed life into them. The first purpose was to live. The second dimension of their life was to be able to be stewards and rulers and governors of this vast, glorious experience of creation that God had placed inside of them. And when they stepped into that dimension, the reason why I bring in the God factor, to our viewers is to understand you didn't come here by yourself. I like to say this: you came here with everything that you need in order to be able to reign here on this plane. Brother Michael, how you say that? Yes, because that existence of what God, placed into you, that breath that He placed into you, the power that He placed into you, the purpose that He placed into you, He gave it to you so you can manage life here. You've been seeing the vast technologies right now that are going on right now on the earth. Humanity wants to go up there. They're going to the moon. They're going to Luna. They're going to Mars. They're going to Jupiter. They're trying to find some form of life there. And they're finding maybe the chances of survival there is probably like what? Maybe 1%. They take a seed and plant it over there and see if there's some other type. If our planet went through everything, this is where, in this sphere of Earth, that's where He called us to be. Why did He? Because He understood that we can manage here, we can govern here, we can grow here, we can prosper here, we can see great and mighty things happen here. So I was born in that situation, and God moved me from that situation. And when He moved me from that situation, then guess what happened? He embedded the very purpose that was there, because Scripture says that He knew me before I was born in my mother's womb. Because He knew me from before I was born, that means I knew Him too. That aspect of me, which is spiritual, knew Him too. I cannot be in denial living here. I have to have the right acceptance of me being here, not by accident, not by circumstance, not by anything, not by what somebody says, not even the education I've been given. I'm here because there's a original plan of the God that knew you, all right, because He knew me. So I follow that path. I follow that truth. It governs how I think, how I move, and how I process, which is the same way you should. Because when you find the truth that was given to you by somebody other than human beings can give you something and take it away. But God gives you life, and God gives you a purpose that it's eternal, because this same life that we breathe goes back to Him. So to the question, Dr. James, is that from that situation of a country in Uganda that's devastated with all of its many problems, for some reason, the one that sent me here was able to give me life. And that life is a journey that I've moved, traveling around the country, traveling around many countries around the world, and being able to take the truth. One of the main missions of my life is to awaken an army of great, mighty ambassadors of good that can spread it and take it to the nations of the world.
Amen. Amen. You know, hey Doc, if somebody was to ask you, who is Doctor Mike Kingsley, what would you tell them?
Dr. Mike Kingsley, well, the doctor title is the certificate that I have. It's the accolades that I've gained in life as I've been traveling through education. But the man, I'm the essence, first of all, from what I just shared before, I'm the essence of the man that God created. And number two, I am the product of the very purpose that God wants extended from him, because he always has wanted to do something in the earth and he needs a man. So the totality of my being is, I would attribute it to one thing, is it originates from God, and I walk and live and have my being, in him. Now, going through life, I've been able to see the things that God has allowed me to attain, the achievements that he allows me to have. And all those are outside occurrences that have happened while I'm governing and living and having, this found life that God has given to us all the way from creation.
Wow, great answer, great answer. You know, we're gonna take a station break, but we're gonna come back and we're really gonna delve off in a lot of things that Dr. Mike Kingsley is doing. And if you want to be part of the conversation, go to the comments, ask him any question you want to. I tell you, it's your life. We'll be back shortly after the break.
I never wanna leave. Yeah, I'm right where I wanna be. We got something you and me, and I can't get rid of this feeling. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Just like a magnet, we're just like a magnet. The things we have can be taken for granted. Now I know that it has always been you. I can't help it, I'm so drawn to you. Hey, I'm so drawn to you. I'm so drawn to you. Yeah, yeah.
Hello. Hey, I'm James Cooley. I am the founder and CEO of the J.C. Cooley Foundation, Options, Opportunities, the Choice Program. Our primary mission is to help build a foundation of our youth and young adults and communities. And we encourage everyone to dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. And the way that you do that is, first of all, you got to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you are here for a purpose. You also have to be able to step out your comfort zone and do things that you probably didn't think that you can do. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life, and we're talking to this great man, great leader, great inspire of men and women all over the world, and just being in his presence and just chatting with him. You can feel the energy. You can feel the passion with what he stands for and who he is. Uh, just like you said, a great man of God. He is. And Bishop, I'm just so happy that I get an opportunity to see and meet with you on a regular basis, man, because it inspires me every single time. But I tell you, we're gonna bring this other doc in the conversation right now. I know he probably was over there asleep at the wheel for a second or so. You know, how you doing, Doctor Hall?
I am well, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Greetings today.
And I know you were probably listening to this great man, and you know him well. Uh, what you think about his answer when I said, "Who is Doctor Mike Kingsley?"
I
And
think just listening to the show so far, and Mr. Mike Kingsley, we definitely have some history behind us. So I know a little bit more than he conveyed, and that's in his humbleness that he shared. But in his bigness, like you said, the title is just the title. He's the essence of the man that God created, and I couldn't agree more than that.
man, he's a great guy, and we're gonna get right back to him. But just wanted to bring you in on the picture because of all the things that this great man is doing, and just want to pick it back up and let's just go back into more of the conversation. So, Doc Kingsley, can you tell us about? I know you're the founder of World Trumpet Television, Radio, all of these great things that you're doing and reaching the world. Can you explain to our listeners and viewers what exactly is trumpet TV, radio, and all these other type of things?
Well, I would like to thank God for my friend, um, Dr. Eric. At much of this journey of the last 15, 16, 17 years now, uh, you know, I found a friend and a kingdom friend on one of my journeys in California. And, the Lord had told me that I'm going to align you with kingdom friends that would be able to join. And so for me, it was quite a great joy that, I met that type of man and we've been able to travel together for the last 16 years of our friendship and, some of the kingdom things, we've done and even talking about World Trumpet TV, that aspect of it, the journey, the beginning and all that, we've worked together and served together and a very intricate part of, this medium of, communication, and so the joy that I have is that, like, Dr. James, um, you can do life alone. We can do life alone. We cannot, especially when God has given us great assignments. Some ships do not sail off the they don't sail off the shores by themselves. They need a lot of manpower, and networking is that very, very strategic key to any organization, to any person, any human being. So I'm very grateful to Dr. Eric, and I'm actually really grateful to you that the time that we've met and sat down, and even that time we've just strategically met, and like our hearts together, three of us have just knitted together, and we're not even talking about ourselves. We're talking about how we can impact the world. So to answer your question, as far as World Trumpet Television is concerned, God gave us a vision to extend this media mountain to the nations. We saw what we call a void. There was a gap, there was a mighty, mighty, mighty gap that was taking place all over the world, especially in the center of communication. When you look at the narrative that's already been created in our arenas, arenas of communication, you tend to see there's always negative, negative, negative. The last 1 year alone, since February, all our news has been blanketed by death and destruction and everything. I mean, let me even take it back. Let me take it back to 2 years when we entered into a phase of COVID. Guess what happened? What happened was this, onslaught that took place that hit the entire planet to the extent through media, the entire world came to a standstill. Streets were closed. We became limbo cities. We used to see those things in the movies where cities become limbo and nobody's working. Now we were able to see it live on our streets just by the power of information and an intrusion of a virus. So guess what happened? As I begin to see that, prior to that, we'd already seen those things were coming, and say, God, allow us to build a network that will bring goodness, that will bring hope, that will champion the cause of goodness in the earth. I see this army of evil that's rising, and it's very choreographed so well. It's been, choreographed through entertainment, in media, and everything like that. I say on our side, as kingdom men and women of God, businessmen, where is the mountain of media, like your show right now every week? You're able to bring hope and be able to bring men and thinkers and minds. You bring them together on this show in order for them to express purpose and plan and ideas that lift other people. That's exactly the vision that God gave us. And when we started to do that, we begin to see that very void and gap was already there. It was just waiting for this type of medium to come through. We call it the trumpet because the trumpet does several things. The trumpet, awakens people, prepares people. The trumpet, in scripture, it was synonymous. It was synonymous for, when danger was coming and there was an army was coming, the war was coming. Guess what? They blew the trumpet, and so that the people in the hills and the people in the mountains and the caves prepare themselves. They have to wear their weapons to get ready to go. That was a sign of the army. You go back into the Jericho wall. It was the rams, which is the trumpet that they blew 7 times in order to affect and disrupt the idea and the vision and the stronghold of the giants. It was the trumpet they blew. So we need a new sound. We need a positive sound. I see somebody writing about that. Angela speaking about it. We need a new sound in the midst of chaos, in the midst of sickness and disease, in the midst of world wars, in the midst of the globalist agenda and all that. We need a sound, and we're still here. We still exist for this very purpose in order to help so many millions of people who have been already receiving this toxic negativity inside of them, for them to wake up. Well, if we let them receive it, the population is going to act according to what they hear. They're going to act according to what they hear. So this media mountain, like the James Colley Show and World Trumpet TV and all of these other platforms, when they begin to come up, guess what happens? There is a hope that raises up other men and women that say, you know what? No, everything hasn't gone we haven't failed. We're not. Everything's not going to just go to the garbage pit. America's not going to fold. No. We still have men and women embedded that can bring good. And that's the reason why World Trumpet TV was begun. And from the time it's begun, the very message it has, it's taken out all over the world, 155 countries and growing, and we're seeing the results that are coming from all over the world right now as a result, because this gap that's there to bring hope, to bring transformation, to bring like-minded men, business people, leaders, and all of them on a collective platform to say, hey, let's go bring the light to the place where there's darkness. That was one of the reasons why we began this vision began.
Wow, you hear that fire?
Man, you know what?
The 2023 ain't got a chance.
They don't have a chance, and a Doc, I can see that people are locked into the network, because I ain't never seen numbers like this.
I've just hit them. We just hit them and I just sent them and say I invited them to through World Trumpet TV.
Oh, so I see thousands. I mean, and hey, Doc, you are Doc E.
Sir.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
That's a you up. You got the question.
Oh, well, I don't know about a question outside of, just to piggyback on what the doc was already saying. I mean, Doc Kingsley's a visionary. I remember 16 years ago, we talked about, a great revival that America needs to have. You remember, Doc, we talked,
I do.
We did the prayer train across America. We was talking about prayer America back to one nation under God.
Under God.
And I think it's important to see those things right now, in a time such as this, that everything is changing. Like you said, the media mountains that's going on right now is so much negativity, and we have to be the ones to offset that, to combat that, being on the other side of the good news that's supposed to be spread when we share the gospel. And I think it's more relevant now than any other time. You're looking at things that are happening in this country and around the world. Man, we can't expect the world, the country, to be in any better shape than it is now based on us taking God out of the picture. And I think a great revival is warranted. I think with all the mission and the media mountains, as he's seen with the Dr. Cooley show, with World Trumpet Television, and just everything out there, iron sharpens iron. And I think it's for a time of great men like you guys selves, to really step in and really start forging things forward.
Wow. This is amazing. And I tell you, Doc E had, uh, when Doc Mike get the mic and he started talking, it's just so inspiring. But Doc, we got Clement here. He got a couple of questions for you. He been putting them in the comments, so I'm gonna give him an opportunity to ask you those questions himself. How you doing, Clement?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm really amazed at how you're communicating what you're doing and the work that you're doing in Africa. I'm very interested in these types of ministries and projects. But my question is based on from the ministries that you've done in Africa. What's the reception from individuals in Africa that haven't accepted Christ, and now based on your efforts in the areas that you're working in, going through and accepting Christ into their life? And then the second part to my question was, what is the impact I guess in this context I could say, what is the impact that you see you're having on villages and on governments in the region? And could you give us like a case study of a village that you went into?
Well, that would take 7 days to this, and Doctor is a witness because he's been Dr. Eric is a witness because he's been in Africa from the time you land into the country. Need finds you at the airport, right there at the airport, right as soon as you get out. All of a sudden, a new project just begins. Somebody will write up an application and say, "We're going to take you to our village." I think he'll tell you that. You land there and everybody wants to take you to their little village because in that little village, there's a need that's taking place over there. And so you have to get back and sit down and say, okay, so how can you leverage, the resources you have and, the resources you have that you'll be able to administer, especially for the mission, because each time that you go, there's a mission that you've set and people you're going to meet and those you're going to work through. But you get over there and you went there saying, okay, maybe I'm going to use, for instance, example, for $1 million, and you meet the need is $50 million, because a lot of people who now know that you've shown up, like Doctor has shown up, and everybody wants to sit at the table, and they're telling you there is so much need. Africa has got need. And so now you begin to strategize. You strategize and say, okay, I'm going to capitalize on this one region. For instance, in one of our regions, we've been taking care of almost 30,000 children that don't have access to food. That in itself, 30,000 children that don't have. The last 2 years, the villages came out. We thought we were going to go for 1,000, 10,000. We do. You remember, Doc, when you went there almost several years ago, you went over there, and before you know it, you are already feeding almost 3 schools and children and everything. And that was not in the budget. But when you got over there, that was exactly the enormous work that was taking place. And so to add to your question, this is the very reason why the mission, the humanitarian voice, the humanitarian foundation or heart is so vital to places where people don't have access to some of these resources, like water. Water is so vital over there because when you go deeper into the villages, people drink water the same way how the cows or goats will go drink water. It's dirty water, contaminated water. And you see that sometimes some organizations bring it back in the US and put it on TV and all that. It's no joke. It's for real. So we are involved in those humanitarian causes that are able to bring water, finding, efficient ways that can help be able to, bring water. Talk about food, getting large pieces of land and plant great food like corn, 30, 40 acres of land, because most people there in Africa, their heart is consumerism. It's their stomach. If you can't preach Jesus to them unless you put something on the plate. You can talk about your Jesus all you want, but hey, bring something that's tangible to them, and food. And that's why you can go in a village and supply food. There's 30,000 people that show up for food. They won't even show up if you just put up a banner and tell them, hey, Jesus Christ is Lord. He's Lord, but my kids are not going to school. He's Lord, but I don't have school fees. I don't have this and all that. So you enter there, and the one thing is this: we are talking about the ministry of Jesus, not only just the things we do. The ministry of Jesus that he shows us in Scripture was the ministry of empathy and kindness. That's the reason why at several given times he included feeding 5,000 men, not including women.
Hey, Doc, I want you to hold that thought, because we got to take a station break. I've been trying to get away with that, but I got to take that station break. Hold that thought. I want to come back and talk about 5,000, feeding 5,000 people. No, we're going to pick it back up. I tell you what, if you're watching this, you're listening to it, you are just as excited as I am. But we're going to take a station break. We're going to come back, and we're going to bring this great man back to the table. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll see you shortly after the break.
Really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. And that last segment, I tell you, I'm still shaking over here. I mean, and not just that, but just the open heartedness, going to a country, just like you were saying, Doc Mike, you went with Dr. Eric, and the budget was probably to feed 1,000. Next thing you know, God opened up his heart and gave all of us passion. You end up feeding about 20, 30,000 people. But that's
what happens.
And then you're able to, I believe, and I can't wait to go. I mean, Doc. Oh, we all talk about this all the time. But just like you had mentioned, just getting off the plane and just understanding that whatever you had planned for that moment, you might want to change your plans, because God is going to place things in our heart and place things, vision, our understanding, our focus to help change that. So viewers out there, wherever you're watching that, if you want to be part of this conversation, I see we got thousands. All you do is just go to the comments. Go to the comments. Ask this great man, ask a great Doc Mike or Dr. E or You got Clemens on and or myself. Any question you want to, and we promise to try to get you an answer. Doc, you was on a roll. I want to pick it back up, Doctor Mike, where you was on a roll and you said you started talking about the 4 piece of fish and the 5 loaves of bread and fed 5,000. Can you pick it up from there?
No, Brother Clement, asked the questions, the impact of the word. People are receptive. When in Africa, there's such an open heart because not only because they want just to be fed or clothed and everything, they're receptive because the heart is there. For there's been a spiritual void that's been there. So when you come in there with the love of kindness, they have known pain, they have known wars, they have known all of these things, and then they see you come in there and bring this such a level of love and care. It changes their attitude because all they've known is some of these villages have been ransacked by wars and they've lost their kids, they've lost their moms and everything like that. And here you come in and bring this other side, and especially when you're coming from the West. So it brings such a shift and a change. And we've been able to see churches planted, in some of these villages. A village that started out, small, and all of a sudden it grows and there's a church that's planted over there. The spiritual climate changes. Even the economic climate also begins to change in that area. They're very hardworking people. They want to be uplifted. They want to see, this knowledge that we have access to here in America, be given to them so they can father their lives and everything like that. And Dr. Eric, can attribute to that. You can share about that because you've been there hands-on and you've seen it firsthand, the experience of what has happened.
Yeah, absolutely. The level of excitement you get when you touch down and they recognize the pure hearts. They, like you said, they recognize pain. They've been through all that. So when they feel the level of kindness that comes into the country, it's amplified and multiplied. The villages run and go tell the next villages that is somebody here that really cares and really means what they say. And it's an attracted anointing is probably the best way to kind of spell it out.
Yeah.
Just think about the biblical prophecies that's being taken place as we speak. And I just know that there's going to be a great exodus in a way where we're going to mount up over in Akubalan, the land of humanity, and from that place, because Doc and I have been talking about these things, and as God has been working, World Trumpet and the visions he's given us with African Link and all the different mediums, these are those media mountains that are
Right.
going in there doing the work. And it takes a lot of people, man. So, as we look at, us as a body of people, and the whole world comes from Africa. So we're not speaking where it's more of a racial tone, but it is important for us to know that we're the only people on the planet that's not attached to our anchor. And so when we fix that gap, then the world would be fixed, is what I believe. So 2 Chronicles 7:14, God tells us that if his people just seek his face, we can turn from our wicked ways, then he'll heal his land. And I'm paraphrasing, but the point is a revival has to happen. I think it's the things that, the men of God are really doing. The remnant man is going and not afraid to go. And it's a time such as this. So I appreciate everything that Bishop Kingsley's doing here with all the businesses and things that is happening. We've been able to, take the excuses out the way and get the results of feeding people. The need is being met. God says he gives us the power. He wants us to remember that it is he that gives us the power to obtain wealth.
Yeah.
Right? It's through our gifts and talents that he's given us, but it's to establish his covenant.
Yeah.
We got to make sure we figure that part out and remember that part. So being able to do this thing from a place where iron sharpens iron and all of us come together, it's immensely purposeful.
The one thing that I like to add on that is goodness and to be in the hands of the righteous is so good, especially when their intent is to bring transformation to the populace. Because to other people, other systems, for instance, we've been going through a war, and the first thing that really hit Africa and around the world was this food safety. We saw the effects of that here in the United States. The war is far away, but our food commodities went up. Why? Because much of the grain that comes from overseas by the tons and tons of millions that comes to this way was evaporated. But Africa suffered a lot. There was hunger. Children were dying. Mothers were dying. So the new system that has come into place, is for us to get big chunks of land that we could be able to lease and be able to plant a lot of food. So the millions of people now who don't have access to that food because they've been dependent on foreign food coming from different places, especially during the war. And now we are moving into that next phase now where you're going to be able to see that we could bridge the gap of hunger that's been taking place there because the soil is there, good soil is there. Now they're able to get the seeds. They're able to plant, 1,000 acres of land. You can feed 40,000 people, into that. Why? Especially the champions of good. I have with me Dr. Eric. I have with me Brother James. I have Clement and others who are watching us. The very vision of the righteous people being able to have this type and power of goodness is going to change the kind of world we're living in. Because those who have power, especially in the evil hands, we see the onslaught. Africa is now begging for these countries to give them food. And they say, we can't give you food until you're on our side. How do you do that? How do you choke people's necks? They're dying. And so we don't care if you're dying, And I'm like, God, raise up in this gap that's been created, raise up men and women that have power and resources for them to fill up the gaps of being able to bring this goodness. Even right here, we're talking about overseas, but even here in our community, North America, there's food insecurity that's taking place in our city. The last 2 years, we've been able to feed over 10,000, families that have been coming, especially when it was critical during COVID. And I'm like, no, we don't. We pack the truckloads and they come around the Dallas Metroplex and they come in and people line up. You could literally see people line up. I was even shocked one of those days when we were supplying food. People who are driving almost $150,000 cars were lining up and said, please fill my car. Well, he has money for the car, but he doesn't have food at home. And we're telling them, you could see, I have the pictures. You could see us parking. This guy's driving a $150,000 car. But guess what? Hunger is everywhere, and our world is not getting any better. But the hope that I have, and I'm glad that I agree with this man of God that we have on here today, is that God's raising up men and women of good. I'm saying good, to be on the side of good, just like his heart of good that are going to bring transformation in our cities. And World Trumpet TV, Africa Linked, and Brother James Cooley Show, all of them represent that. Because remember, when you look all over our cities in the United States of America, they are breaking down, they are cracking, everything is broken. Who is going to come and fill in the gap of goodness? Who has the right message, the right narrative that would shift the mind in order to bring this good back? I believe we can do that. We can trumpet that in our day today.
I believe we can trumpet all of these things. We got 2 minutes before the break, but I got to ask this question because humanity-wise, and you talked about transformation. So that transformation requires leadership and inside out. How can, or what can we do? I'm talking about the world, not just the 4 of us, but what can we do? I'm talking about from a giving, from a heart perspective to try to help change the vision and the viewpoint of the world as a whole, because everybody's not about giving, Doc.
No.
So what are some of the thoughts or some of the things that you think that we might be able to do now to change the perception of the world? You got about a minute and a half.
Yeah. So for several times and many years, we've always used the motto, let's bring change from bottom up, and we've used that for quite some time. And it's worked to an extent, but it did not bring about change because it takes a lot of work to build a structure from change from bottom up. All right. And the reason why I'm saying that is that you have to bring a collective body of people and bring them together an idea, educate them about an idea, and find out if they're able to do what? To go. Let me give you an example. Moses gets the children of Israel out. He says, I'm going for them. I bring them into the land of, into the promised land. He spent 40 years in the wilderness. There was nothing moving, nudging. That's God told him, I've given you these cities, I've given you Jericho, I've given you that. The concept of them understanding that could not be grabbed right away. All right. Now there's in the 21st century, because the mind is shifting and information is coming, there's an idea of top down. That sounds like a little cheesy a little bit, because it doesn't sound good, because from the people it comes from, it's not good. But what I'm trying to say is this, is that if we get enough men and women, for example, Dr. James, myself, and others, like-minded men who have the same heart, the same cause, uniting with the same idea, bringing such a that level of impact, that will bring an excitement. Joshua was one against the 12. Moses was one against 3 million people. To convince 3 million people, to an extent they even got him mad that he struck the rock that was supposed to have water. But right now, we don't have just one Moses, we don't have one Joshua, we have so many of us that we can unite together. And when we have the same mind, now we can raise that army that can be able to go bring about the transformation we need. That's the structure of what I mean by that, Doc.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. You know, I want to pick it up. We got to take a station break, but we're gonna come back and I tell you, we got some more of this great man that he's gonna share his idea. We're gonna talk about some of the things from a world humanity perspective that we all can do to help chip in to help the world problem. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Fight again. And if you want my opinion, I let it take me away. Only relief is the four on the floor and the crowd that goes, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I mean, I just want to say one thing, that this is a very powerful show right here, because anytime that you are reaching out to help, not just in your community, but you're reaching out there and you have a passion for every community in the world, and you go out and you do all you can to help out, but you also need others to chip in and help, because just like we always say, it takes the entire village to just raise one kid or one community, one ever. And that's why I'm so happy and thankful for this great man, Dr. Mike, to take the time and come and explain a lot of the things that he is doing, not just in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of this, but also overseas. And you know, he's a leader. And that's what it's going to require, is leadership from each and every last one of us. You know, so I want to pick it back up. I see that I got a lot of comments that I'm going to try to get over to you, Doc, because we got the better part of 7 minutes of the show. But one of the questions that I want to ask is, tell us about the international humanitarian missions that, other things that you're doing, or other nations, or a collaboration with people to help resolve this thing called hunger.
You know, the word hunger has become, what would I give it? Because for the most part, since I've been alive, it's one of the things that we have grown accustomed to hearing, that nations are trying to solve it. People are trying to solve it. The United Nations is trying to solve it. Organizations are trying to solve it. And I don't know if we've ever, thank you, Angela, blessings to you. We'll look forward to that. I don't know if, and when you see a crisis that keeps repeating itself over and over, that means it has to draw our attention to something. And in this situation, how do we solve hunger? We can solve hunger. First of all, the first answer I gave is that is when the right, even Clement, I think, mentioned about it. There's so many good people right now on our planet that can be brought together into a collective network to bring good. Okay, so if we can identify those and bring them together in the same room, we can do that. Now, Michael, we've seen the UN come together. We've seen UNESCO and UNICEF and World Food Program. All of them have come together. The problem that's been there, I might gotta say it public on your show, is there's been a monopoly to life. Who lives and who dies? Hunger to other people, it's big business. It's not a solution. In order to maintain poverty, you have to create more poverty. You have to create a culture of poverty in order to create more poverty. Poverty is, to others, creates a lot of wealth. Now, that's not being told to us. It's not the way it's sold to us. Okay? Because they normally would give us a 10% and call it help and say, oh, we're giving you 10% and we call it help. But it's not a system that eradicates. If you eradicated hunger, that means that most of the most powerful countries that are generating a lot of this food would cease to be in business. But the thing, thank goodness, is that we're living in a time where we have this awareness. We know how deception has crooked in and kept nations poor and people poor, that we can come in with righteous systems and strategies that can help eradicate poverty right from the ground up. If we have all the tools today. For instance, I was talking to a young man yesterday, a great friend of mine. I say to him right now, we have access to almost 1 square mile of land. In this square mile of land, we can go, even if we just raised up tractors, if you get real excavator tractors, farming tractors, we can put them on the ground. If they were the only ones we took over there, I don't want nobody giving us money. We want somebody to say, I'm going to buy tractors. We take them online, they till the ground, we put in the seed. Within 3-4 months, are harvested there. You can feed thousands and millions of people with that. To get that solution done, that's how you do it. Before, you needed to go through monopoly, go to the UN, sit down, create an application and do all of this while people are dying. Northern Uganda or Southern Africa, Malawi, Zambia, all these countries go through tremendous levels of hunger. If we solve those two, we have all solved the world's problems. The tools in those places haven't been there, but now there's access to those tools that are taking place right now. So there is no problem. There is no problem right now that cannot be solved. But for the most part, that's not what we've been told before. We've been told that it's only a few other people that can solve, and those people they're the only ones who have the means to solve this problem because they use politics. They attach politics to hunger. They attach all these systems to hunger, and that's not what's needed. Today, God wants to raise up individual people like you and I, who don't need titles. We don't need to be in government. We don't need, because we've seen when those who legislate systems, they take longer. They take years to get the job done. People, even in the United States, are crying today for help and systems to help to start working because legislation has never tried to change anything. It's individuals. Let me give you experience of a doctor. Dr. James and Dr. Eric. The last 2 years, the church only spent $40 billion to solve the problems that happened to us during COVID. The government wrote a $6 trillion check to solve the problems that were taking place. Guess who did more? The marketplace spent more than $12 trillion to solve the problem. If you wanted to get the job done, who's the first person you go to? Who's the first person you want to partner with? It's individual people like you and I who say, you know what, we cannot let the world system go the way it's supposed to go this way. We're going to do something. And we are the army they're afraid of. We're the army they are so fearful of, because something good is about to happen in the universe in 2023, and goodness is coming, and we can't wait about it.
Wow. You know, a doc, both docs, we out of time. But Dr. Mike, come on, man. I want to pick this up 3 weeks from now, man. No.
We
We
need
got,
about 3 shows. I told you,
yeah.
you know.
We got so much that we didn't get to. So you got to give me your word. We can make this happen in about 3 weeks. Round 3 of this.
Let's
You
make
know?
it happen.
Let's make it happen. I tell
Yes,
you
sir.
what,
Yes, sir.
if you enjoyed this, wow, this tune in every day. But 3 weeks from now, we're gonna pick it up. Myself, Dr. Mike, and Dr. E, we're gonna pick it up, and we're gonna bring you some more of this on how we can all work together. I tell you what, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Dr. Mike. Thank you so much, Dr. E. Thanks so much for my great executive producer, Dr. Michelle Cooley. Most importantly, thanks a lot for you for watching. Remember, every day, watch It's Your Life, same time, same place. I see you again tomorrow.